Michael Shikha Niketan Higher Secondary Government-sponsored co-ed English medium school has taken an excellent initiative of teaching and make our students learn day-to-day lessons through audio and video in our YouTube channel. Teachers of all the subjects are working hard to enhance these online classes in the midst of this pandemic situation. It is a request to all the teachers, students and guardians to click the bell icon and subscribe our channel.
So today's class is 7 and your subject is history and the lesson is lifestyle and culture. So Sultanate and Mughal age. We shall be reading about lifestyle and culture, that is Sultanate and Mughal age. So please, before going forward in the lesson, please take out your page number 13. Page number 113 in your textbook. So we shall be starting chapter number 7 today. Chapter number lesson 7 and the name of the chapter is Lifestyle and Culture, Sultanate and Mughal age, page number 113 in your textbook. So in this chapter we shall be reading about the lifestyle and culture. First we shall be reading about lifestyle. Okay, lifestyle, how the commoners or how the villagers used to live or used to lead their life, and the culture or religion based. But we will be concentrating on which period? We will be concentrating on Sultanate and Mughal age. Okay, Sultanate period and Mughal period. Fine. So let's start reading first. So as you have already taken out your textbook, page number 113. So in the first 7.1 topic, we are having the lifestyle. The first we shall be learning about the lifestyle. So in the first paragraph, it has been said that during the Sultanate period, we generally get to read books regarding storybooks regarding Badshah, kings, wazirs and the kingdom who had ruled. But in this particular chapter, we shall be reading about the common people or the villagers, or how the villagers used to stay, what were their lifestyles, what were their culture, what they used to perform, how they used to perform on field and agriculture, and how they used to provide the revenues. So in the first paragraph, please concentrate. The Sultan, Badshah, king and wazir ruled the country. Their stories are narrated in many books, but very little is written about the multitude of poor people. And yet the wealth accumulated from their agricultural cultivation or industry was spent for governance by the kings and emperors. So let us look at the condition of the people in the Sultanate and the Mughal period. So we shall be continuing in reading about the Sultanate period. What was the condition of the poor people of the Sultanate period and Mughal period. In the second paragraph, the majority of the people lived in villages. The main purpose of cultivation was to cater to the demands of the local people. Craft centers were seen only in some selected areas. Manufacturing centers was established beside the rivers for easy import of raw materials and export finished good easily. Since Bengal and Gujarat had such advantage, there was flourishing of industries. The rulers had a lion's share in the farmers' produce. In return, the administration ensured peaceful life of the common people. So what is saying in the second paragraph? It is saying that the majority of people used to live in villages and their source of income was not only agriculture but also some crafts also, and from selling that particular craft they used to give large amount of product to the emperor or to the zamindars, and rest of the items which they are having the leftovers, they sent it or kept it for their own purposes. Third paragraph. So here we shall be reading about what were the things which used to be produced during that time. Third paragraph, page number 117. Mango was in high demand among the crops produced in the Gangetic plains. Other fruits like grapes, dates, rose apple, bananas, jackfruit, coconut, etc. were also produced. Various types of flowers, sandalwood, aloe and many other herbs were produced in India. Chili, ginger and other kinds of spices were also produced, and there were varieties of domestic animals and birds. Handicraft was developed in the villages on the basis of agro-based product. Sugar and perfume manufacture was famous. These crafts were hereditary, so the quality of their products was extraordinary, even though they used traditional tools. Next, in the last paragraph of the page number 113 says, in this period, the most significant manufactures were cotton, metal work, stonework, paper making, etc. Skilled masons and stone artisans were in great demand. The method of using tiles and bricks for making houses was common in Bengal and other parts. Okay, I think this is clear to you. Now turn your page 114. So here we shall be in the first paragraph. It has been said that how much of what coin people used to get the amount of goods from the shop. The prices of goods of daily necessities was not always the same. So what happened? So during the time of war and during the time of any famine, the price of any commodities rises up and simultaneously it rises down too. So what says, let's read in this paragraph, page number 114 and first paragraph. The prices of goods of daily necessities was not always the same. The price of food grains increased during famine or war. Again, exceeding low prices existed during the time of Sultan Ibrahim Lodi. A person could buy 10 mounds of food grains, 5 seer of oil and 10 yards of thick cloth with only 1 Bahaloli coin. The meaning of Bahaloli is a currency which were used by the Bahalol Lodi during the Lodi dynasty, during the rule of Lodi dynasty. You can see the chart. Did you know box? You can see the chart that these are the commodities, and during Alauddin Khilji, Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Firoz Shah Tughlaq, the amount of the price of this particular items were this and that. Okay. Now the next paragraph, that is in same page number 114 below your box. What it says, let's read. Society was based on the joint family system. So during that time the society was based on joint family, okay, where the position of woman in the family and society was lower than that of man. Use of parda system and use of what it says, shaping and facing a parda during that time was a customary. But in the other sense, the farmers or the women farmer who used to work field as equal with the men, they were not having any kind of parda system as a customary, because they have to perform their abilities on field. So in that particular phase of life, or in that particular system of life of poor farmers, were not having any kind of positions of men and women. Both men and women used to work in a field and they were not having any kind of veil in front of them. Now page number 115. Very basic elements were required for settlement of poor people. The existence of a well, ditch or pond was good enough for the rural people to settle down. All they required was some bundle of hay and a few tree trunks to make their houses. That was enough for them to have a dwelling. So what is it says in the this 115 page numbers first paragraph? It says that the common people or the poor people did not want any kind of luxury item. They only want to spend their life is one pond or one well to drink, because water, not only for drinking purpose, water needs for every kind of circumstances, they have to need water. So drink, so water for the drinking purpose and for their other household item works, And apart from that, they also need some settled rural peoples and few trunks of tree so that they can build their houses and they can live in that particular house. Now in the second paragraph of 115 page, that is, after paying the revenue and clearing of other loans, the peasants still had something in hand. That was the resource for daily expenditure. In some reason, the peasant families toiled day and night. In fact, very little is known about the daily life of the peasantry. During the reign of Jahangir, a Dutch merchant wrote that the poor people or poor hardly knew the taste of meat. Their daily food was the same category, and with that they had their meal only once in the evening. Besides, they did not have many clothes. A charpoy and a few utensils was part of their household. They had only one bed sheet or maximum two. They used that for laying their bed or covering themselves. It would suffice for summer, but in winter they had to suffer. Festive occasions gave them a break from the stereotype of life. So what it says in the second paragraph, it is saying that after paying the revenue, the high amount of revenue to the emperor, they get, or after not only the paying the revenue but to clearing upon their loans too, in their hand they left very little amount, and from that very little amount their expenditure cannot be survived nicely. So the condition of poor people, we can see from this particular paragraph that the condition of poor people were very hard. They cannot survive properly. Even they cannot provide meat. They even don't know what is the taste of meat is. And they also have very less meal once in a day, that is only in the evening. So we can suffice, or we can feel, we can also understand what was the condition of the poor people during the Sultanate and Mughal Empire. Okay, and they don't used to have a much items or commodities in their house. Only few utensils to cook food and to sleep, one charpoy or two charpoy. Even the bed sheets were very less in number. Only one or max to max two. It would been very helpful in summer season, but in winter the condition of the people were worst. Now let's continue the third paragraph, same page 115. On the other hand, the Mughal emperor were very rich. Their noblemen had also had great wealth. They spent a lot on construction of forts, palaces, mosques, madrasas and architecture like the Taj Mahal. They never hesitated to spend money on expensive garments, ornaments and many luxuries. Next paragraph. Wrestling was a popular sport in those days. The nobility, common men and even the sadhus were keen about wrestling. Archery, javelin throw and swimming were also very popular. Slinging catapults was said to be a common sport in Bengal. Folk song, dance, performance of jugglers or magicians, clowns, etc. were the source of enjoyment for the common men. Last paragraph of the page number 115. There was change of rulers in different ages in Delhi and the regional states, but the lifestyle of the common people of India in the Sultanate and the Mughal age remained unchanged. Excessive labor and abject poverty, that was the life of poor peasants and artisans, laborers of India. So here what is saying that as the time goes, the age or the time or the ruling period of Mughal Emperor or Sultanate of Sultans change simultaneously according to the time. But the lifestyle of common people or the poor people remained unchanged. They were then, what were conditioned? they were now in the same condition after 500 years of ruling also. Okay, and the lifestyle of common people remained unchanged. What were the common sports? There were many common sports which has been said in the page number 115, which you have to read the second last paragraph. And apart from that, we can also assess that whereas the common people were not having even a food, they cannot survive without, anybody cannot survive without food, right? So for that instances, they have only accessible of having the meal once in a evening, that is once in a day, not thrice. So you can assess the condition of poor people. On the other hand, the condition of rich people were some other way, like the completely opposite. They used to wear luxury garments, they used to purchase luxury commodities, then they used to purchase many kind of luxury furnitures and all, and they used to also make palaces, forts, madrasas and so on with the money of agricultural peasants only and from the huge amount of revenue being collected from the common people. Now turn your page, 117 page number. Here we shall be reading about some cultural aspect, some religious thoughts and emergence of some religious outcomes emerged in this phase of life. Okay, so let's read. Page number 117, in the first paragraph it has been said that the religion was an integral part of life. In medieval India, new religious thoughts evolved in the Sultanate period. The Brahminical Hinduism of the past, Buddhism and Jainism were also prevalent at that time. But their impact on the people was gradually declined. The meaning of decline is decreasing. Under such circumstances, people came to know of the Bhakti cult and Sufism. The preachers emphasized on the communion between the divine and the devotee. The meaning of divine is goddess or God. Those who are offering the prayer, they are known as the devotees. This vision was beyond the concept of traditional religion. And in this particular phase, we are seeing that the power or the presence or the positions of the Buddhism, Jainism and the Brahmins and the caste system were declining day by day. And for that particular item, people are acknowledging new religious cults or new religious upbringings. And that particular upbringings were leading to different kind of aspect of aspects of devotion from the devotees. Okay, and the first one is Bhakti cult. We shall be learning about Bhakti cult here. Page number 117. First paragraph of Bhakti cult. The motive of the Bhakti cult was love or devotion of the devotees for the divine. The Bhakti, that is devotion, had two main features. One was complete submission to God. The other one was give up yajna, rituals, and yoga and lay importance only to devotion. The second quality became the main theme of the Bhakti cult, first in South India, then in North India. What was then the reason behind the rise of the Bhakti cult? In 8th century AD, after the fall of Harshavardhana, in northern India, some Rajput kings gained power. The Brahmin priests supported the Rajputs, thus an understanding developed between them. As a result, no other religious thoughts other than the Brahminical Hinduism was established in northern India. However, during this period, some people experimented with Bhakti cult in different parts of the country. The Nathapanthis, yogis, etc. were evidence of this. Among them, the Alvar and Nayanar priests were very popular in South India. In the beginning of the 17th century AD, with the help of this priest, Bhakti cult became popular in southern India before it spread to northern India. During this time, Brahminical Hinduism Buddhism and Jainism had lost its utility in human life. This religious unnecessarily emphasized on rites and rituals or advised a life of renouncing everything. There was no place for human emotions nor the key to live well. In this situation, the Alvar and Nayanar preachers expressed their devotion to God in simple Tamil language. Common people were attracted to it. Gradually, the Bhakti cult of the South also gave importance to rites and rituals of worship. In a result, turn your page, in a result, too became detached from the people. In fact, the Bhakti cult of the South never had the power to ignore the importance of the Brahmins in the society. In the 13th and 14th century, Bhakti spread from the south to northern and eastern India via western India. In that period, the Turks invaded North India. Being defeated by the Turks, the Rajputs lost their dominance, and at the same time, influence of the Brahmins declined in social and religious life. From 13th to 15th century, Namdev, Janeshwar, Tukaram and Ramananda, Kabir, Nanak, Sakharadeva, Chaitanya Dev, Mirabai, etc. started their propagation of Bhakti. Their messages, writings, poems, songs were heard all over India. So today's is this class only. I will be continuing in the next part. I hope I have explained you go through with the book line and all things. I will request you and advise you to go through your lessons properly, and please, by going with the lessons, look at the video. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Leave a like and comment. Subscribe. And do share the video among your friends.